Please allow us to begin. The title of the presentation is Konni's New Arsenal. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. We come from LAC Company's Cyber Emergency Center. My name is Matsumoto, and we have Mr. Ishikawa beside me. And we would like to talk, first of all, about the actor Konni and their attack campaign, AutoIt. And in the second half, I'd like to talk about the details of the malware and the attribution and countermeasures. In May of 2025, we looked at Konni, a North Korean attack group, and how they used RAT, AutoIt. And in the campaign, they targeted Japanese financial institutions. In the initial intrusion, they masqueraded as an affiliated company and carried out a spear phishing attack. And through the attack, the attackers used zip files in email and had it downloaded to have link files as a starting point to create AutoIt. And here we would like to talk about the AutoIt-based RAT, the GSRAT, and I would like to talk about the analysis of the campaign as well as countermeasures. And first of all, we'd like to look at the attacker group. Konni has been active since at least 2014. They are related to North Korea, and originally they had created a malware called KonniRat, and since they no longer use KonniRat, and so therefore we have referred to the attack group as Konni. And in this group, they have been targeting political organizations, financial institutions, cyber assets, and individuals that are interested in North Korea. And they have targeted South Korea, Russia, America, and Japan in their attacks. And this is the timeline of Konni. And in the lower half of the slide, we have the major campaigns that have been confirmed, and in the upper half, we have seen the final payloads that have been carried out in the campaigns. First of all, in 2017, Cisco made the first report in regard to KonniRat, and in 2014, that attack had occurred. And at the beginning of 2024, for the final payload, KonniRat had been used, but recently they're using commodity malware and AutoIt as malware, as well as RFT-RAT as the final payload. Next, in this slide, we see Konni and the relationship with other North Korean actors. Konni has at least been active since 2013, and they have a strong relationship with Kimski. And with Anna company, there are some companies that analyze Konni and Kimski together. At least from 2021, there has been some association with StarCraft. And these actors are all very active. And so there's a lot of confusion about the information about these organizations. Next is the outline of the campaign. This is the overall picture of the campaign. First, there's a spear phishing mail that is the starting point, and the user may click a link in a mail whereby a WordPress site downloads a zip file, and in the zip file there is a link file that is malicious, and this is shown in step 1 to 3, and then from step 4 to step 5, the user executes the link file, and then the PowerShell is called in the terminal, and the link file has this decoy file embedded into it. And then after that, with step 6 and 8, with curl.exe, different WordPress site downloads a cabinet file. And finally, from step 9 to 11, the downloaded cab file is deployed, and there is the VB script that is executed. And in regard to the flow here, when we look at the execution flow of GSRAT, we will go into the details. And from the next slide, we will look into the mail and file details. The zip file that is downloaded has a link file included to it, and as indicated in the slide, we have the code that is contained. And the code has dir STR command and find STR command used, and it finds a PowerShell.exe within the terminal, and it implements the PowerShell. This shows the script, and first of all, there is within the in the current directory or in the temporary file, they find a similar file, a link file, and then they identify the offset, and they have a details of the decode file, and the XOR decryption is used. And then from step 3 to step 1, there's the auto script that includes a cab file, and this has the tampered downloaded file from WordPress. And in steps 6 to 8, the downloaded cab file is placed into the public folder, and after that it is deleted. And then finally there's the cab file that includes the script start.vbs that is executed. And here is the execution flow for the GSRAT. Within the cab file, the files are consecutively executed, and start.vbs is executed. The batch file is embedded, and the GSRAT persistence is implemented. And now we would like to look into the details of the slide in the following details. We have the start.vps, and the batch file is implemented. Document.application property of a shell execute method is used, and in the same folder there's the install.bat that is not disclosed. And after this is executed, it is deleted. And then after that, we have the install.bat and GSRAT as in the public folder, and there is automatic startup setting of auto IT 3.exe that automatically launches and starts up the file, and then the auto it is executed and GSRAT is launched. Now here is the script file that contains GSRAT. In the script, there is in the front end 0 times 2000 bytes, and it evades the security products for detection. And then there's a binary data that is contained, and there's the signature of auto it 03 exclamation EA06, and this script is executed along with auto it 3.exe so that the GSRAT is launched. And from here, we'd like to introduce briefly about auto IT. In regard to auto it, this has been freeware basic script language that was used for the automation of the Windows GUI. And it appeared in 1999 and has continued to be used from 2003. And there's the version 3 major release that has been made, and it is possible to have this file implemented. For the executable of the AutoIt script, there are 3 types. There's the AutoIt script, the compiled AutoIt script, and the compiled execution file. And in regard to the script, there's the readable source code. And in AutoIt 3.exe, it will be possible to identify a file path. And then after the script has been compiled, then the AutoIt script is converted, and a binary file contains the binary code. In this campaign, this malware uses this format. And here, for the implementation, auto3.exe is necessary. And as an argument, there's the file path that is identified. Finally, for the compiled execution file, in this format, the auto3.exe is not necessary, and it can be implemented alone. And now, for the compiled script, I'll go into the details. Now you can see on the binary data of the compiled script, and here you can see the strings of IT that is unique to auto it and the compiled path, the compressed flag, and the date of creation, and the script is included. And the parameters are basically using this with a key that is different, and XOR. And they have the recent encoding format EA06. But before 2007, there were other formats that had existed, and in the appendix, you can see the details. Finally, here is the analytical tools. There are 4 tools that are listed here. The strongest one is the Python Auto It Ripper. And if this is used, then the compiled script or the executable file will allow static extraction of the original script. Now we'd like to look at the GSRAT that is executed as the payload. And GSRAT is created as a RAT from Auto IT, and since February of 2025, it has been used for attacks. And as malware functions, there is possible to use remote execution commands that take advantage of TCP sockets in data transmission, and it comes within the GSRAT. There are variables GS that is contained, and so therefore it has been named GSRAT. And this RAT is also referred to as NRAT, NClient RAT, and Auto It RAT. Next, we'd like to look at the CNC communication. GSRAT has the infected terminal ID used in the initial communication for the CNC server. And there is a special character set and PC name and CPU information and HDD volume ID that is hashed as part of the value. And there's the version model that is linked. And with the CNC command, there is the remote operation that is possible.
This slide shows a timeline based on GSRAT's compilation time. And as far as we can confirm, the oldest sample was compiled in February 2025. Also regarding GSRAT's distribution method, in our case, it was via email. But in the August 2025 case, it was distributed via SNS. Furthermore, a GSRAT sample was reported in November 2025, but we have not been able to verify the file itself. The next slide shows the August 2025 GSRAT sample. Additionally, and this GSRAT, compared to the GSRAT we confirmed in our campaign, had several updated features. First, C2 communication is now conducted using JSON formatted data. The strings end client and end server are used as data delimiters. Second, regarding the C2 commands, while there were some minor changes to the command names, there were no significant differences in the types or contents of the commands. And this slide provides an overview of a malware utilized by Konni, similar to GSRAT, called Custom Lilith RAT. Custom Lilith RAT has been used in attacks since around December 2023. It's a RAT ported to Auto IT based on the C language code of the open source Lilith RAT. Its command and control functionality is lightweight, featuring only the remote control module capable of executing commands. Comparing the code of the 2 RATs Konni uses, that is GSRAT and Custom Lilith RAT, we confirmed that several similar code segments were implemented. And this slide shows code detecting processes of Avast security software products. It's evident that the code are similar in both cases. Additionally, both utilize the IS multiple function to check the mutex, preventing multiple launches. And this commonality suggests that the code was reused. Now, changing subjects a bit, I will introduce the initial intrusion vectors for Konni confirmed in 2024 and 25. Attacks can be broadly classified into 2 types, link-based and SNS-based. the link-based attacks can be further categorized into type 1 and type 2, and this attack campaign belongs to type 1. A characteristic of type 1 is that it does not store the next payload to execute within the link file. Instead, it obtains it from the C2 server. A key characteristic of type 1 is that the link file does not contain the payload to be executed next. Instead, it fetches it. In contrast, type 2 stores the payload to be executed within the link file in CAB format. The following slides cover type 2 and SNS in more detail. And this attack also begins with a spear phishing email. Its distinctive feature is the use of PowerShell to extract a decode file and a CAB file from a specific offset within the linked file to save them as separate files. The CAB file contains VBS files and multiple BAT files, which are executed sequentially. Finally, it downloads and executes a payload from a compromised WordPress site. And in this case, the payload used was the AutoIt version of the APT malware. Here is a case of KakaoTalk being misused. According to Genians, in this attack, the attacker impersonates a psychological counselor or North Korean human rights activist and sends a zip file to the user under the guise of a stress relief program. If the user extracts the zip file and executes the MSI file inside, the attack infects the system with GSRAT via AutoIt. Now to attribution. First, this slide displays the compilation times for two malware programs, GSRAT and custom Lilith rat, created using AutoIt and utilized by Konni as payloads. It shows that the malware changed from custom Lilith rat to GSRAT, indicating a planned replacement starting in February 2025. Also, we observed an attack campaign targeting South Korea using linked files in December 2025. However, we have not confirmed whether the final payload in this case was GSRAT. Now, next, this table provides an overview of the AutoIt malware used by Konni. Konni utilizes customized versions of open source malware like Lilith rat and commodity malware such as Amadi and Remcos. At the same time, it also employs original malware like GSRAT and RFT rat. When examining the compilation path of these malwares, if the username is Bay, interesting strings are found within the development paths. Now to infrastructure. Konni is characterized by compromising legitimate web pages built with WordPress and abusing them as infrastructure for distributing malware. Furthermore, for the custom Lilith rat and GSRAT C2 servers of its final payloads, IP addresses owned by multiple VPS and hosting service providers are frequently used. Now going on to countermeasures. There are several countermeasures against GSRAT. First, to establish detection methods utilizing Yara, Sigma rules, and autoruns. Second, control the execution of AutoIt applications using AppLocker and WDAC. Third, monitor suspicious behavior through EDR products. The following slides will provide additional details on AppLocker and WDAC. Now, this is an example of AppLocker. AppLocker is an application control feature included in Windows OS that can restrict which applications run. And in this example, we use a publisher-based rule in local computer policy to block the execution of AutoIt applications. This confirms that AutoIt execution is being prevented. This is an example of WDAC. WDAC, like AppLocker, is one of the application control features included in the Windows OS. Because it operates at the kernel level, it can control drivers, enabling stricter control than AppLocker. In this example, the Microsoft App Control Wizard GUI tool is used to configure settings that reject execution of AutoIt applications with specific signatures. In this example, we are using here too, we can confirm that AutoIt execution is actually blocked. This is the result of our investigation into the 85 AutoIT code signings that were accessible. The items in yellow are signatures being misused for attacks, so when implementing blocking, we recommend blocking at least these 2 signatures. Note that AutoIT releases from 2013 to 2015 indicating in red do not have digital signatures, and to block these, alternative methods such as hash values must be used in place of signatures. Additionally, this slide shows the results of our investigation into AutoIT's product name. We confirmed that the string AutoIT v3 script or AutoIT v3 script beta in the beta version were typically used as the product names. So if you want to block more comprehensively, specifying the product name for blocking is also one effective method. So, conclusion. GSRAT is an interesting rat created with AutoIT and used by Konni. Konni primarily targets South Korean government agencies and private companies, but also continuously attacks Japan and Russia, adapting its attack methods. Furthermore, given the recent confirmation of attacks utilizing AutoIT applications, restricting the use of AutoIT when not essential for business is important from a risk mitigation perspective. The rest is an appendix on the Yara rules, Sigma rules, and indicators of compromise, and the AutoIT encoding. And I end with references. Thank you very much.